It was supposed to be just another quiet evening. My parents had gone out for a rare date night, leaving me home alone for the first time. I'm 14, old enough to take care of myself, or at least that's what I had convinced them. They seemed hesitant, but eventually agreed after my constant reassurances. They trusted me, and I was eager to prove that their trust wasn't misplaced. The house felt different that night. It was quieter, the usual comforting sounds muted by the absence of my parents. I remember locking the front door after they left, turning the deadbolt and checking it twice. I did the same with the windows, making sure they were latched tightly. My mom's voice echoed in my mind, reminding me to keep everything locked and to call them if anything strange happened. I brushed off the nerves and settled into the couch with a bowl of popcorn, ready to binge watch my favorite show. About an hour in, I realized I had forgotten something. The back door. I had gone out earlier to take out the trash and hadn't locked it when I came back in. Panic shot through me, but I quickly calmed down, thinking it was no big deal. It was just our backyard, fenced in and usually safe. I figured I could just lock it now, and everything would be fine. I paused the show and got up, the floorboards creaking under my feet as I made my way through the dark kitchen to the back door. The house felt colder than usual, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. My hand was just about to reach for the lock when I heard it. A soft creak, the unmistakable sound of a door hinge straining under weight. I froze, every muscle in my body tensing as I strained to listen. Was it my imagination? The wind? But no, it was too deliberate, too intentional to be anything but a person. My heart pounded in my chest, loud and insistent. I slowly backed away from the door, hoping that if I didn't move, whatever, or whoever was there wouldn't notice me. The house was dead silent, save for the occasional rustle of the trees outside. I stood there, barely breathing, trying to make sense of what I had just heard. But the truth was undeniable. Someone was in the house. Someone had come in through the back door I had forgotten to lock. My first instinct was to hide, to find a place where I could be invisible, but a better idea quickly formed. The phone. I needed to call the police. But then I realized I had left my phone on the couch in the living room. I cursed under my breath, my mind racing with a million thoughts. How could I be so careless? I knew I had to move quickly. Whoever was in the house was probably looking for something, or someone. I didn't want to be found. Slowly, carefully, I edged my way back toward the living room, praying the intruder hadn't made it that far yet. Each step felt like an eternity, the floor beneath me groaning slightly as I went. I was almost there, almost within reach of my phone, when I heard it again. This time, it was the sound of footsteps, soft but unmistakable, moving through the kitchen. My blood ran cold. They were getting closer. There was no time to grab the phone now. If I did, I'd be exposed, and they'd see me for sure. Without thinking, I ducked behind the couch, trying to make myself as small as possible. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping against hope that they wouldn't notice the slight shift in the shadows or the sound of my ragged breathing. The footsteps grew louder, closer, and I could hear the intruder moving through the house, methodically checking each room. My mind raced, trying to come up with a plan, but all I could do was hope they wouldn't find me. It felt like an eternity passed before the footsteps finally moved away from the living room, heading toward the stairs. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. This was my chance. I knew I couldn't stay in the house any longer. I had to get out, get help, moving as silently as I could. I crept along the floor until I reached the front door. It was still locked, the deadbolt firmly in place. But unlocking it would make noise, and I wasn't sure if the intruder was far enough away not to hear. I hesitated for a moment, my hand hovering over the lock, but I knew I had no choice. With trembling fingers, I slowly turned the deadbolt, wincing as it clicked loudly in the silence. I held my breath, waiting to see if the intruder had heard. For a long moment, there was nothing. No sound, no movement. Maybe they hadn't noticed. Maybe I was in the clear. I slowly turned the doorknob and opened the door just enough to slip outside. The cool night air hit me, and I almost cried out in relief. I was outside, I was safe, but I wasn't out of danger yet. I quietly closed the door behind me, leaving it unlocked so the intruder wouldn't suspect I had left. The neighborhood was eerily quiet. The only sounds the distant hum of cars on the main road and the faint rustle of leaves in the breeze. I knew I had to act quickly. There was no time to run to a neighbor's house. It was too risky, too far. The intruder might notice I was gone and come after me. I needed to call the police, but I couldn't do it out in the open. I spotted our car parked in the driveway, the shadows around it deep and concealing. It was the perfect place to hide. I crept over to it, crouching down behind the rear bumper, out of sight from the house, but still close enough to see if anyone came out. My hands were shaking as I fumbled for my phone in my pocket. The screen lit up, and I quickly dialed 911, my heart hammering in my chest as I waited for the operator to pick up. 911, what's your emergency? The operator's calm voice said on the other end. Someone's in my house, I whispered urgently, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm outside, hiding behind my car, but they're still inside. The operator's voice immediately became more focused. Okay, stay calm. What's your address? I gave him my address, glancing nervously at the house. The lights inside were still on, but I couldn't see any movement. Was the intruder still searching, or had they noticed I was gone? Officers are on their way, the operator assured me. Stay where you are and keep quiet. Do you see the intruder anywhere? I shook my head, then realized they couldn't see me. No, not yet, but I heard them upstairs a few minutes ago. Good. You did the right thing by getting out of the house, the operator said. Just stay hidden, and the police will be there soon. I nodded, clutching the phone tightly. The minutes ticked by slowly, each one feeling like an hour. My heart was racing, and I kept straining my ears, listening for any sign of movement from the house. What if the intruder found out I was gone? What if they came looking for me? Finally, I heard it, the distant wail of sirens growing louder as they approached. Relief washed over me, but it was mixed with a fresh wave of fear. What if the intruder tried to escape? What if they saw me hiding here? The police cars screeched to a halt in front of my house, lights flashing as officers jumped out, their guns drawn. I stayed crouched behind the car, not daring to move as they surrounded the house. I could hear them shouting commands, their voices stern and commanding. Police, come out with your hands up. I held my breath, waiting for some kind of response, but there was nothing. The officers moved in, carefully entering the house while others remained outside, scanning the area for any sign of the intruder. It felt like forever before the officers finally came back out, their expressions serious. One of them, a tall man with a kind face, approached me as I stood up from behind the car. We searched the entire house, but there's no sign of anyone, he said gently. Whoever it was, they're gone now.